both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark. Centuries later, the world begins to build the mechanism.
But some governments and corporations, for the first time in history, have the power to basically hack human beings. There is a lot of talk about hacking computers, hacking smartphones, hacking bank accounts, but the big story of our era is the ability to hack human beings. And by this I mean that if you have enough data and you have enough computing power, you can understand people better than they understand themselves, and then you can manipulate them in ways which were previously impossible. And in such a situation, the old democratic system stopped functioning. We need to reinvent democracy.
All Noah Harari on reinventing democracy. Democracy in its present form cannot survive the merger of biotech and infotech. Either democracy will successfully reinvent itself in a radically new form, or humans will come to live in digital dictatorships. Harari writes this in the section of the book dealing with the technological challenge, the explosive new combination of biotechnology plus information technology. His concern that advanced algorithms plus data plus human biology rewiring will undermine existing democratic institutions. He doesn't simply denounce democracy. The book says liberal democracy is the most successful and versatile political model humans have so far developed, but that it must adapt to new conditions.
Free will, that's over.
That's over.
Over. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. Yeah, I mean, everything is being digitalized.
Genesis 2:16-17. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. Freedom of choice existed from creation. Obedience or disobedience was man's decision. God did not take away free will. He has given humans. Neither should you allow anyone to take your freedom away. Deuteronomy 30:19-20. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. God explicitly places the power of choice in human hands.
Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. Yeah, I mean, everything is being digitalized. Everything is being monitored. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste, because a crisis is an opportunity to also do good reforms that in normal times people will never agree to. But in a crisis, you see, we have no chance. So let's do it.
Vaccine won't help us go
the
to the
vaccine
test, of course.
will help us, of course. It will make things, more manageable.
When the world shut down in 2020, fear and confusion spread faster than the virus itself. Governments declared emergencies, borders closed. Life was turned upside down overnight. And in the chaos, an idea resurfaced. One global thinker had spoken of for years, an idea that needed a crisis to succeed. Yuval Noah Harari once warned, never let a good crisis go to waste. Because in normal times, people will not be on board. He wasn't talking about medicine. He was talking about systems, control, and the reshaping of society. The COVID-19 crisis became the proving ground. A desperate world embraced the first step, the digital vaccine passport. At first it looked temporary, harmless, just a QR code for public safety. But it was more than a convenience. It was a prototype, a live demonstration that billions would accept digital checkpoints in exchange for normal life. No code, no entry, no travel, no job, no participation. Once the infrastructure was built, the next phase emerged: digital identity. One ID for everything. One ID to access services, movement, finance, citizenship. Health status was only the spark. Digital ID was the destination. Today, long after lockdowns ended, the push continues. Centralized databases, biometrics, digital access for public services. The convenience masks a deeper dependency. If a code was required to buy food during a crisis, how hard would it be to require a code for banking, for healthcare, for voting? A crisis opens the door. The solution becomes the system. The system becomes permanent. Whoever owns the data owns you.
How to engineer bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Now, why is data so important? It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. Now, what do you need in order to hack a human being? You need two things. You need a lot of computing power, and you need a lot of data, especially biometric data.
Guyana's digital ID system is live, launched in 2025, mandatory for every citizen over 14 and every foreign worker. But here's what they don't want you to know. This wasn't one law. It was two laws passed together on purpose. The Digital Identity Card Act of 2023 and the Data Protection Act of 2023, tabled in the same session, passed within weeks, sold as twin pillars of progress. This was deception. They told you, we're protecting your privacy, but the Data Protection Act has giant loopholes, exempting national security, immigration, and tax agencies. Guess who uses those exemptions? The same agencies running the digital ID. Employers scan your card, banks verify your ID, cameras match your face in real time, your fingerprints, your face scan, your work history, health records, bank details, all stored in the Safe Country Surveillance Network. And the Data Protection Act, it allows your data to be sent overseas to companies like Veridos in Germany. There was no separate public debate on biometrics, no standalone vote on mandatory enrollment, no warning that refusing the ID means no job, no bank, no travel. They bundled it. They hid it. They lied. This is the global playbook. Pass a privacy law so people lower their guard, then roll out total biometric control. India did it with Aadhaar. Australia did it with MyGov ID. The UK is doing it now. Guyana just copied the script. They will say it's for safety. They will say it's for convenience. But once the data is collected, you can't take it back. The Data Protection Act wasn't a shield. It was a smokescreen. The digital ID isn't an upgrade, it's a data trap. Yuval Harari warned us. Whoever owns the data owns the future. They own your data. They own your future. They own you. Wake up, Guyana. Expose the bundle. Reject the lie. No digital ID. Data is power. Around the world, a new urban planning model is quietly being introduced. It is called the 15-minute city. On the surface, it sounds harmless, a community where everything you need is within a short walk. But beneath the soft language and comforting words, the deeper structure reveals something far more ambitious. Controlled mobility, regulated access, and a system where movement can be monitored, restricted, or permitted through digital approval. The 15-minute city is built on a simple idea. Divide the city into zones and keep people within their assigned zone for most of their daily activities. What begins as convenience can easily evolve into confinement. To reduce public resistance, different countries use different names. In the United Kingdom, versions are called low-traffic neighborhoods, traffic filters, and clean air zones. In Spain, they are super blocks. In Australia, 20-minute neighborhoods. In Canada, complete communities. In China, grid cities. Across Europe, mobility hubs, eco-districts, and sustainable urban mobility plans. The terms change, but the structure remains the same. Cities like Paris, Oxford, Barcelona, Melbourne, Portland, Los Angeles, Toronto, Brussels, and Chengdu have already begun pilots or full implementations. In some areas, digital passes and license plate recognition cameras determine who may cross into another zone and how often. In Oxford, drivers risk fines if they leave their allocated district too many times. In Barcelona, superblocks restrict internal traffic and reroute vehicles around control perimeters. In China's grid cities, movement can be authorized or denied through QR-based mobility systems. Supporters claim this is for the planet, for the climate, for cleaner air. But critics point out a deeper danger. Once movement is regulated digitally, freedom becomes a privilege, not a right. This is where the ideas of Yuval Noah Harari intersect. Harari speaks of a future where humans are hackable animals, where the body becomes data, and where internal surveillance replaces free will. A 15-minute city becomes the hardware, while biometric surveillance becomes the software. Digital ID becomes the key, and controlled mobility becomes the outcome. When life is reorganized into zones, and zones are enforced by sensors, cameras, and algorithms, the question is no longer theoretical, it is very real. Who controls where you can go? Who controls when you can go? And who decides what justification is acceptable? Convenience is the language. Control is the structure. Compliance is the expectation. The issue is not the distance you can walk to the store. The issue is the system built behind it. A system that can expand, tighten, and enforce movement in ways no past city ever could. The 15-minute city is not simply urban planning. It is part of a rising architecture of digital governance, where freedom of movement is redesigned, digitized, and ultimately conditional.
In the heart of Georgetown lies Tiger Bay, a community long overlooked, yet suddenly placed at the center of national attention. Recently, a promise was made that Tiger Bay would be transformed into something no one expects. No details. No blueprint released. Only the idea of a bold, unprecedented model. But what does a first model mean? A model of what? A test for what future changes? The language leaves room for interpretation. Some think of urban renewal, safer streets, modern housing, upgraded infrastructure. Others wonder whether it signals a pilot for new kinds of districts using advanced technologies or controlled access. The statements so far leave the possibilities wide open. Transformations of the scale rarely stop at one location. A first model usually means a prototype, a template. So the question is not whether Tiger Bay will change. The question is, what direction will the change take? Who benefits? Who is displaced? And what will this model teach the rest of the country? For now, all we have are the words. A transformation no one expects. Sometimes the most important clues lie not in what is explained, but in what is left unsaid.
Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it. All of life, for 4 billion years, dinosaurs, amoebas, tomatoes, humans, all of life was subject to the laws of natural selection and to the laws of organic biochemistry. But this is now about to change. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design of some god above the clouds, but our intelligent design.
In our generation, powerful voices now claim that humans are becoming hackable animals, and that free will is disappearing. But long before modern systems sought to control human behavior, God declared a very different reality. Yuval Noah Harari says humanity is entering a new phase, a phase he calls evolution by intelligent design. But he makes it clear, not the intelligent design of God, but the intelligent design of human engineers, scientists, and algorithms. In Harari's worldview, the role once attributed to God, the role of shaping life, identity, purpose, and destiny, moves into the hands of engineers and corporations. He has stated plainly, the power now moves from God to the engineers. Human beings, he believes, will not be discovered. They will be manufactured. To Harari, human beings are no longer sacred creations. They are technological projects. He calls us hackable animals, biological machines whose decisions can be decoded, predicted, and controlled by those who gather enough data. In this emerging future, the designers of humanity are not divine. They are digital. They are not heavenly. They are algorithmic. And the authority over human life shifts from the creator in heaven to the creators of code. If humans are hackable, free will becomes an illusion. If evolution is programmable, identity becomes a product. If human nature is re-engineered, morality becomes optional. And once God is removed from the equation, the meaning of being human is rewritten by those who hold technological power. This is the heart of Harari's message, that the future of humanity will not be shaped by divine intelligence, but by human intelligence, not designed by God, but redesigned by those who own the data, the algorithms, and the biological tools of the 21st century. It raises the most important question of all. If we are no longer shaped by God, then who decides what we become?
Is maybe the most important development of the 21st century is this ability to hack human beings, to go under the skin, collect biometric data, analyze it, and understand people better than they understand themselves. This, I believe, is maybe the most important event of the 21st century.
Yuval Noah Harari often speaks about the future of surveillance. In multiple interviews, articles, and public lectures, he uses a phrase that shocks many, that modern surveillance will go under the skin. Now it's important to understand exactly what he means. Harari is not referring to science fiction. He is describing a real shift already happening today, from monitoring our actions to monitoring our biology. In a 2020 article published by Al Jazeera, Harari wrote, and I quote, "Surveillance is beginning to go under the skin." He explained that governments and corporations are moving beyond tracking what we click to tracking what we feel, through biometric data such as heart rate, body temperature, and emotional responses. And in a 2021 interview on CBS, Harari warned that the next stage of surveillance is internal surveillance, not just watching where you go, but reading your physical reactions, your stress levels, your emotions, and even your cognitive patterns. This is not a misstatement, it is the consistent theme of his message. He believes that the combination of biotechnology, sensors, and artificial intelligence will reveal what is happening inside the human body, moment by moment. But here is where the language becomes deceptive. Harari presents these ideas as warnings, yet he describes them as inevitable. He frames them as concerns, yet speaks as though society must accept them. He alerts the world to the dangers, but also normalizes the technology by speaking of it as the next logical step of human evolution. This dual language, half warning, half prediction, creates a powerful effect. It prepares the public to accept a future where internal surveillance is simply a part of life. He says, if we have enough biometric data, we can know you better than you know yourself. And once we can hack humans, we can engineer bodies, brains, and minds. Notice the shift. It begins as concern, but ends as certainty. By using the phrase, under the skin, Harari is not speaking metaphorically. He is speaking literally about biometric identifiers, internal body data, and real-time physiological monitoring. This level of surveillance moves past your behavior, past your decisions, and into your biology itself. It can reveal fear before you feel it. It can detect emotional responses you never speak. It can read loyalty, doubt, discomfort, or excitement, all without your permission. That is not merely surveillance. It is access to the human soul through the human body. So the question is not whether Harari misspoke. He did not. He meant exactly what he said. The real question is, why are global thinkers describing a future where governments and corporations monitor the human body from the inside? And more importantly, why is this being presented as something humanity must learn to accept? Under-the-skin surveillance changes the nature of freedom. It takes control from the outside world and pushes it into the most private spaces of human existence. When the body becomes data, identity becomes programmable. And when feelings can be measured, behavior can be manipulated. This is the world Harari describes, a world where human beings are no longer mysterious souls, but biological algorithms waiting to be decoded. A world where freedom is not removed with force, but replaced with prediction. A world where control does not feel like chains, but feels like convenience. This is what it means when someone says surveillance is going under the skin. It is not a theory, it is not an accident. It is the next frontier of digital governance. And the public deserves to understand exactly what is at stake.
Natural selection is replaced by intelligent design. The era of inorganic life is now beginning.
In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms. We are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. Our intelligent design.
They're passing that in the UK right now. In the UK, you need a digital ID to combat, ready for it, illegal immigration. Well, motherfucker, you let the illegal immigrants in on purpose. Like, you guys knew what you were doing, and now you're using it as a justification for digital ID.
I just watched one this morning, actually, it was a British judge. A guy got sentenced.
I saw that, yeah.
For however many years for a
20 months, social media post.
For a social media post. It was about immigration.
It's complaining about immigration.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. And, you know, it's the best way to control people, you know, and keep them at each other's throats. Like, bring in a bunch of people that the people that live there don't want there and let them duke it out, and then start instituting tighter and tighter restrictions and control.
Protests have been held in London over the introduction of digital identification. The ID will be needed in order to live and work in the UK.
Well, thousands have actually taken part in this through central London this afternoon, culminating here at Downing Street, where they wanted to make the point right outside the seat of power. And what's interesting about the people gathered here today is the fact that there's so many people that you wouldn't really expect to be at a protest ordinarily, people who just feel very strongly that they feel this is taking society in the wrong direction. They very much think that these digital ID cards are the wrong way to go. They say it's a risk to their security and to their privacy, and they say they will hold protests like this until these ideas are scrapped. Well, the governors go, well, I've been talking to some people here about what they think. Let's hear what some of the protesters have to say about this idea.
We want our freedom. We need to keep control of our sovereignty. End of. You know, you start down this route and then it just goes on. Yeah?
I'm born here. I live here. I've got an address here. I pay council tax here.
So you just don't think it's necessary?
Nobody wants to be chipped and pinned and corralled and computerised and controlled by the government, which is what this is all about. Digital ID. It's not about keeping immigration down. You don't need... The Navy can do that. The law can do that. It's about controlling us.
They say they won't stop until these plans are thrown out.
The UK is changing, and not for the better. There's a darkness spreading, and this isn't just about politics or economics. It's about the slow erosion of freedoms, privacy, and God-given rights that we were all born with. And it all starts with the implementation of a digital ID. The digital ID is a system that has been very quietly introduced, wrapped in promises of safety and convenience. But underneath, it's a very, very dangerous tool. Centralizing your entire life onto one ID database isn't just risky and naive, it's blatantly arrogant. Just think about the consequences of this. A government being able to access literally everything that you do. Your spending patterns, for example. If you were someone who donated some money to the truckers in Canada during the pandemic in 2020, they will know where that money went, and they'll know it left your account and went to certain causes. If you're someone who gives money to a certain political affiliate or a political party, they will know, and they will be able to understand all of these things about you. If you post something on social media or you use social media in any way wrongly, in their eyes wrongly, they will know. If you buy too much petrol, they will know. All of these things will be easily traceable and trackable. The other day, that over 85 million bank accounts in Vietnam were frozen because they didn't meet the biometric standards that Vietnam had set out for those bank accounts.
Let's talk about what's going on in the UK. Keir Starmer's digital ID is being slammed. Now, just over a week ago, Keir Starmer announced that this digital ID would be mandatory for workers in the UK. Now, anyone with common sense is clearly going to be against this just because of the level of control the government would get. Also, by forcing this digital ID on workers, there are huge concerns around privacy, surveillance and digital rights. Now, Keir Starmer's also being warned that this scheme could become a goldmine for hackers and scammers to steal your money. So there is this real risk of data breaches. And now 2.8 million people, nearly 3 million, have signed a petition against digital IDs. That does not surprise me, Hillary.
Yes, absolutely. And think about it. The biggest, scariest thing after the fact that the government has control and insight into absolutely everything, which is scary enough, talk about Big Brother, is for those that are actually the criminals. This is really easy to hack. Who doesn't think that there are hackers that are more sophisticated than the government? I think that this is very easy. And actually, the model is based on Estonia, where they've had terrible crimes against people, where they've had everything stolen, their funds stolen because of the hackers. So I think it exposes the average citizen to have everything wiped out. So I think that's very dangerous. And last but not least, I do believe that one of the huge backers of this is Larry Ellison, who's actually donated a huge amount. And there's sort of all these people that have a lot of, let's just say, selfish interests behind the push to this. And I think it's something that's dangerous, let alone the last but not least, very importantly, Big Brother seeing into absolutely everything. And also, of course, in the UK, they want to make it a cashless society so they can track absolutely everything everyone does.
The spray came after a tough week for UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who announced his plans for a compulsory digital ID for all Brits.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
So the Prime Minister says we must have digital ID. That's the way we'll stop illegal immigration. Well, think about it. Germany has ID cards, strict ID and checks. It's made no difference at all in Germany, and nor will it here. All that digital ID will be is a means of controlling the population, of telling us what we can and can't do, of fining the innocent. And didn't we see it all when we had the pandemic, when you had to have vaccine ID to travel, to do various things? Did that stop the COVID pandemic spreading? Did it? Hell, all it did was put cost and inconvenience on everybody else. I do not see a single benefit to the government having digital ID other than them controlling what we do, what we spend, and where we go.